Deep within a remote forest far from the hustle and bustle of city life, stood an old, dilapidated mansion. It was said to be cursed, with stories of vanished families and sinister apparitions spreading through the nearby village like wildfire. But for 10-year-old Liam, the mansion was just a new home, one his family had moved into out of necessity, not choice. The mansion loomed ominously over the landscape, its windows like dark, hollow eyes staring into the soul of the forest. The trees surrounding it whispered secrets in the wind, and the ground was perpetually shrouded in mist. Liam's parents, eager to make the best of their new life, assured him that the stories were just that, stories. But as the days turned into nights, the house began to reveal its true nature. It started with the whispers. At first they were faint, almost inaudible, like the rustling of leaves. Liam heard them at night, just as he was drifting off to sleep. They were soft, beckoning, coming from the darkest corners of his room. "Come play with us," they whispered over and over again. Liam told his parents, but they dismissed his fears as the product of an overactive imagination. His mother even laughed it off, saying, "It's just the wind, sweetie, nothing to worry about." But the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They followed him everywhere, in the hallway, in the garden, even when he was out playing in the forest. Sometimes he could hear faint giggles, as if invisible children were playing hide-and-seek around him. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, the lights began to flicker. The air turned icy cold, and the shadows in the room seemed to stretch and move of their own accord. Liam's father got up to check the fuse box, but before he could leave the room, the lights went out completely. In the pitch-black darkness, Liam heard the whispers again, but this time, they were different. They were closer, surrounding him, pressing into his ears. "Join us!" they chanted. "Join us in the shadows!" Suddenly the lights flickered back on, but everything had changed. Liam's parents were no longer sitting at the table. They were standing by the doorway, their faces blank, eyes devoid of any warmth. They moved toward him slowly, like puppets on strings. "Mom? Dad?" Liam's voice trembled, but they didn't respond. Instead, they began to speak in unison, their voices hollow and lifeless. "We're here now, Liam. We've joined them. It's your turn." Liam backed away, but the room itself seemed to close in around him. The walls stretched and groaned, and the air became thick with a dark, suffocating presence. The whispers grew louder, echoing through his mind. Terrified, Liam ran up to his room and locked the door behind him. But the whispers followed. He could hear them outside his door, scratching, tapping, begging him to let them in. The air grew colder still, and then he felt it, a touch, icy and gentle on his shoulder. He spun around, and there they were, children, pale and transparent with empty eyes and twisted smiles. They surrounded him, their hands outstretched. "Play with us, Liam. Forever." As they moved closer, Liam felt his strength fading, his breath becoming shallow. The room darkened, and the shadows reached out, wrapping around him like a cold embrace. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. His vision blurred, and all he could see were the faces of the children, grinning as they pulled him into the darkness. Days later, the villagers noticed that the once distant lights of the mansion were no longer visible through the forest. No one dared to venture inside to check, but they didn't need to. The whispers had returned to the village, new voices added to the chorus of the damned. And deep within the forest, the mansion stood silent once more, its windows dark and lifeless. But if you listen closely, on a still, cold night, you can hear the faint sound of children laughing, their voices carried on the wind, forever lost in the whispering forest.